So we have something we call objects. And the concept of objects is something that you are going to see across several programming languages, and it's something that we use to develop all of our systems in something we call object-oriented programming. It makes our program more reusable, and it gives us better control over stuff. Now, we looked at what variable is in last week's lesson, and we say a variable is like a container for storing values. Sometimes we have values that are more than one, but we want to store this value in a single variable. We have something we call object, which is declared just like we declare a variable, but it is good practice to use the constant keyword to declare an object using constant, and then the name for the object. So let's say we want to declare an object called person is equal to, and then in a pair of curly braces, you specify this object in name value pair. So which means all the values are named. Now, let's use a person for instance. We can call anybody a person, right? And we have 10 different people. Each person has a name. Each person has an age. Each person has a height, a weight, a complexion, a race. But what differs from person to person is the value of all of these different properties that each person has. And so that is what the concept of object is about. Every object has properties and a property has value. So we have things like a car. We have several types of car. Every car has a model, has a weight, a color, maybe a make, the year it was produced, but the values of all of these different properties is not what differs. So the property is the name, and the value will differ from car to car or from person to person. So an object is something we can use to store several values, and they are related values about a particular object or a particular item. And all of the things that this thing possesses are called properties. And then the values attached to these properties are now the values that are unique to each of the property for each of the person. So let's say we want to define an object called person. And then we want to now put the values for the person. The values are named. And the syntax is to write the name of the value, which is like the key. So let's say we want to have something like first name. And then we use a column and we specify the value. When specifying the value, the rules of the data types apply. So if you have strings are quoted, numbers are not quoted, and those rules for the data types. So whatever the data type of your value is what you put the value as after the column. The name or the key is not quoted. So we have first name is equal to Jane. So we use a column first name Jane. And then as a comma separated list, we want to list all of the properties and their values. Jane has a last name, and we say last name is Joe. And then let's say Jane has a height, and let's say Jane's height is, let's say 150 pounds. And Jane also has, height is in inches, let's say 5'7". And let's say Jane has a weight of 150 pounds, right? And if we like, we can leave this as number without quoting it to say we just write 150. And we know beforehand it is specified in pounds. So this is how we declare objects in JavaScript. We give a name declared as a variable. We use the constant keyword is equal to. In a pair of curly braces, we have the key, which is the property, a column, and then the value. When specifying the value, we want to apply the rules to the data type of the value. Now, this is how we have an object. We can have something like person 1, person 2, person 3. So you are defining different persons in different objects and specifying all of their properties and all of the values. So if we have something like person 2, and I'll do that. So you can just do this too, for the sake of clarity, like this. The last one has no comma. I want to define person 2. I'll copy this and I'll say constant person 2. So let's say person 2 is James, and let's say James Green. And James Green is 6 foot tall. and the weight is, let's say, 220 pounds, and we'll just leave it as a number. So we have person 1 and person 2. So you can see that the properties of person 1 and person 2 are the same, but their values are different. And that is what an object is in JavaScript. So let's try to print out these values of the properties to the screen. And we'll look at how we can access the values of different properties. So we want to use the inner HTML method, and we'll use document.getElement by ID, and the ID here is, let's just say we want to use paragraph 1 dot inner HTML is equal to, and we want to now call the key or the name of the property to be able to access the value. Now, the syntax is called the object name, which is person 1 dot, and the name of the property, which is first name. And so this is how we access the value of a property in JavaScript. So we also have, we can also access this in a different way by using square brackets, and within the square brackets we quote the name of the property by saying, let's say we want to get the first name of person 2 like this, and then we'll print this in paragraph 2, and we'll say person 2, and instead of the dot we put it in square bracket like this, and then in a pair of quotes we have the first name of the second person. So let's save this, refresh this page to see if it's printed. So the first one, paragraph 1 printed. I put person 12 and not person 2, so we don't have an object called person 12, and I'll refresh, and we have the first names of each of them printed. We have different ways of accessing the values of the properties. Either we use object name dot property name, or object name in a pair of square brackets, and in a pair of quotes we specify the property name. Is there any question?
No.
Okay. So we have something we call methods, and methods are actions that we perform on objects. We declare method within an object. Let's say, for instance, we want to have a function within the object. Here we have the first name, the last name. We want to have a function that returns the full name here. So we can declare this here and say full name is equal to, and then we say function, like the way we declare function in JavaScript. So full name is equal to function. In a pair of curly braces here, we want to return something, and we're going to return first name plus last name. So we can put a pair of quotes to concatenate with space. And then we have the full name method with the object. So these are called methods. When we have a function within the object's definition, it is called a method. It is written with the name that we want to have. And so this is not equal to, is a colon that we use. We have the name of the property, a colon, the function keyword, and a pair of parentheses. And then in a pair of curly braces, we want to return or have the function definition for that method. And so when we try to call the method, this time we have to call the method with the pair of parentheses, or we return the function definition. So let's say we want to return person 1 dot full name, and then we'll put a pair of parentheses. And then we want to get the full name, Jane Doe, and then the first name of person 2. And so when I refresh this, I don't have anything printed because there must be an error here. And for us to see what the error is, recall in the last lesson, we used the developer tool, and so I'm going to use that here. So I'm going to go to More Tools, Developer Tools, and on the console, it's saying on course reference error, first name is not defined. And that is because we We have the first name here, and it's saying we don't have a first name defined. Now, this brings us to the next topic that we're supposed to discuss. In this definition, it does not know what first name is. We have to make a reference to the object that owns the property, to the object itself. And for us to do that, we use a keyword called this, written like this. So this dot first name and this dot last name. This just refers to the object itself. So the definition of this depends on where the this is used. If this is used within a function definition, an object definition like this, it refers to the object. If it is used by itself, it refers to a global object. If it is used in the function, it refers to the global object. So the definition of this depends on where this is used. So every time you see this, you are referring to this object person1 dot first name. Without the this statement, you won't get anything printed to the screen, and that is what the error was telling us. It doesn't know what first name is within this function. And so when I refresh this time, I will get it printed, the full name, like I want it to be printed, because using the this keyword now tells us exactly where the first name is defined within the object. Any question?
No.
Okay. So note that because we use this, it doesn't have, we can't change the value of this. It's just a keyword that we use to refer to stuff that we can access within the definition. So this is all the concept of objects that we need to get started. And we're going to look more deeply at these objects again when we look at events later on. But this is the basic you need to know to be able to look at those advanced topics. So let's look at strings. Now, string and the concept of string is very important, and that is one of the most tested components in any of the exams or employment interviews that you have. Strings is going to be 80% of your questions will be from strings. And so you want to pay careful attention to strings and string methods and how to manipulate strings and search strings. So let's look at strings. We already defined string. A string as a data type, and it is anything within single quotes or double quotes. So let's say we have a, let's say let new child, written like this, be equal to a text called it's a girl. Now we have this string it's a girl written. If we want to print out the new child, let's say document dot get element by ID, we want paragraph 1 dot inner HTML equal to, we want to print new child. Now when I refresh this page, we print it's a girl to the screen. So this is a string. We can put it in double quotes or we can use single quotes. Now you can see that we have an apostrophe within the text, which is a quote. In the event that we decide to use single quotes here, this will result in an error. And the reason for the error is that the surrounding quotes must match the end. And because an apostrophe is here, JavaScript does not understand anything from the S down, because it sees this as the close of this, and then this results in an error. So when I refresh this, the page has an error and nothing is going to be printed. How do we solve problems like this? We use something we call an escape character just before the offending character. We want to tell JavaScript that this apostrophe is not the close of this open quote, but it is part of the text. And we put a backslash, which is called an escape character, just before the offending character. And when we put this, then it's going to interpret this as it's a girl, rather than look at it as the close of it. So every time you have the surrounding quotes, the same quotation within the text, you want to use the backslash as an escape character to tell JavaScript that the character that comes after the backslash is not the close character, but is part of the text. So ignore it. ignore it as a closing character or an offending string and just look at it as part of the text. So if we want to have a quotation mark, double quote here, and the surrounding quote is a double quote, like this, this will also result in an error because we have double quotes as the surrounding, and then this is quoted. So before this, we put a backslash, before this, we put a backslash, and then it prints normally, and we don't have an error with the girl quoted because we say the quote is part of the text. Any question to the escape character?
Hello.
Yes.
I think in one of the videos, you also illustrated this using the batik key. The batik key at it's like the apostrophe, but
yes.
I don't know what the batik key. Can you use that one in this instance?
Sorry, you said?
I think one of your videos, you use the batik key for the escape.
Yes. So that is also a good example you can do, but most of the time what you see is this escape character. So what I'm doing the most is I want to do something different from the video so that it will be an additional resource to see easier ways of doing stuff.
Okay.
So you get, so whatever is in the video is still valid, but the whole idea is to make sure the live contains more information than the video has. And then you choose what is more convenient, which method you want to use. But professionally and in most instances, you will see the backslash as the escape characters that you will use. You can use any other method that exists, but this is the easiest you can do.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So this is how we define strings, how we use strings, and we deal with offending characters for strings. Let's look at the different methods that we can use to manipulate strings or get information out of strings. Now I'll change this whole text here so that we can do something different. So let's say let text be equal to, and I'll use the popular text, the quick brown fox. I'm going to write fox in uppercase just for illustration. Jumps over the lazy dog. Now, we have this text and we can print the text to the page. If we want to just say we want to know the length of the text, how many characters this whole text has. Counting in JavaScript starts from 0. So the T is 0, 1, 2, the space is 3, Q is 4. So like that up until the end. So counting in JavaScript starts at 0. The first character is 0, index position 0, the next is 1, the other is 2. So if you have something that is 7 characters long, is going to end at index position 6 because it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the 7 characters. So now we have this quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. We want to get the length of the string. So we'll say let's len text be equal to, we have a property called length, and so we'll say text dot length. Like this. So every time we want to look for how many characters that a particular text or string or character or word or sentence contains, we use the length property like this. And then when we save this, we want to say we are printing out the length text. And then I refresh, and we have the length of the text is 43. The same way we can do something like we want to get the index position of a particular, maybe we want to get something like, let's say we want to slice a string, we want to search for the occurrence, or not even search. Before we search, first of all, we might want to do something like get a particular part of a string. Let's say we want to print jumps to the page, for instance. So we want to extract just a particular word from this whole sentence. We have up to, I think, three different methods that we can use to do that. One of the first one is to use the slice method. I will say let slice text be equal to text dot. We have a slice method, written slice like this. What we do here is specify the start index and the end index for the slice method. And so if we want to know what the index is, we can start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You're counting the space also. 20. So it starts at index position 20, and then where does it end? 21, 22, 23, 24. It ends at 24. But we want to print out all of jumps, and the last is not always inclusive. So we'll count the space 25 and we'll put end at 25 because 25 is not inclusive. The end index is never inclusive. So if we want to stop at 24, this is 21, 22, 23, 20. This is, sorry. So this is 19, right? Or this is 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We want to print up to S, so we'll go 25 because the last will not be printed. And so when we do this, and we ask this to print this to the page, let's say we're printing this to paragraph 2, and we're printing slice text. And when I refresh this, we have the jumps printed to the page. So we're cutting just a part of the text. We have something we call negative slicing, where instead of having positive numbers, you can use negative number to return the exact character like jumps. But we don't want to use 20 to 25 for one negative. And now where negative indexing will be helpful or useful is when we start developing our system and we want to get the last, maybe the last character where something ends. The last is always -1. So counting starts at 0, but from the front. But from behind, it starts at -1. The last character is always -1. Now we want to slice this thing. Let's say slice text 1. And we want to use negative indexing. So when we start counting from behind, this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8. -9, -10, -11, -12, -13, -14, -15, -16, -17, -18, -19. So this starts at -19, right? And then this is -20, -21, -22, -23. So we'll start at -19, -23. The end is not always inclusive, so let's do this. -19 first. Right, -20, -21, -22, -23, and so let's put -24, and then let's see if these two prints jumps to the page. So this is how we use negative slicing. When we use minus sign, we're counting from behind. And so let's refresh, we should see 2 jumps on the page. So now it's just jump, not jumps. Because we said we wanted it to be -19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We put 24. Let's see. S is not printed, so this is the one that we have to start from. So let's make this -24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19. So one of them is problematic, and let's see if this is 18. Yeah. So we'll count properly: -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So you have to start printing from the space because this one is 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The space is 24. So this might be 18, 23. So when you try it out, but this is the general idea. So it is the start index or the end index here that you have to go down by 1 because it is not inclusive, just like we did with the positive slicing. And then the start index starts at -23, but the end has to go lower by 1 or over by 1 because the last is not inclusive. Do you have any question? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So let's do the other method that we can use to get part of a string. Now, what makes this negative and positive difference is just if you want to get things from behind, especially when we start developing software and you don't even know in advance what the texts are, you want to see what the last text is, you say -1 or -2. Or when we are developing systems, like you want an algorithm that say, I want to get the last letter of each name, or I want to get the second to the last letter or the second letter. So things like that is where this is applicable. Now we have something we call the substring. And when we use the substring method, it's the same as this. The only difference is that we're not going to use negative with the substring, just positive. Negative is only going to equate to 0. So I'll copy this. I'll use this as substring. So let's say substring of text. And let's say we want to get the same, let's say 20. And we'll get, I think it's 2025. The first one is 25 to get that. So when we use the substring, we extract like the slice method, but anything negative will be treated as 0. And when I save this and I try to print this to the page, let's say I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. And I'm printing this to paragraph 4. Sorry, let me take this up here. So this is paragraph 4. We are printing substring of text. And so when I refresh this, sorry, the name is not correct, substring. When I refresh this, we have jumps again printed because it is the same. So the only difference is for negative. This treats negative as 0. So let's do negative and you see what will happen. -23, -18, save, refresh, and we still have the jumps printed to the page. Sorry, we use slice instead of substring. I'm supposed to change this to substring, but this is the method. Substring. So negative is treated as 0, and we don't have it printed because it's treated as 0. And when we go back to use 2025, it will print out the jumps like we want. So refresh this and we'll have jumps. So they're the same thing, just take note of the slight difference between using those two methods. You can use any of the two methods. You always use slice when you want to do negative indexing. We have something we call substring, and it's written the same way, but the spelling stops at R, like this. So I'll copy this and make it faster. Paste it here. So I'll do substring text like this. So this is also same thing, but it's just that the second parameter now specifies how many characters or the length of the extracted parts. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 parts that are extracted. So the length is 5, right? So anytime you are specifying using substring, it's like you want to say the start index, but the second one is not the end index, but the length of the characters you want. So let's say we want just 4 characters, and we want to start at not 20 now. So it's 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Let's say we want to start at 26 to print over. And we want only 4 characters. So we'll print just over to the page. And so let's print this out to the page, and we'll see what it displays. So this will go to paragraph 5, and we'll have substring text, and we should have over printed to the page. So these are the 3 methods that we use to slice or get part of a text from a text or from a string of text. Okay. We have something we call the replace method, and when we use the replace method, we just want to replace one text with something else. And let's use the replace here. let's say let's replace text be equal to text dot replace. We use the replace method, and let's say we want to replace all the occurrence of they. We want to replace the occurrence of they with a. Now, this replace method is case sensitive, and it's going to replace just the first occurrence. So we only have they exist twice, and so the first occurrence here there is going to be replaced. And so let's print that out to the page to see. So it's going to return the text, but it's going to return it with the replaced string, and it should replace just the first occurrence. So let's say replace text like this. When I refresh, we have a quick brown function over the lazy dog because it's just the first. If we wanted to replace all the occurrence, we can use regular expression, and we'll do regular expression later on, but it's just using / like this, and then the G flag to make sure it replaces all the occurrence. And when I refresh, it replaces both the here to a. If, for instance, this is uppercase letter, it is not going to replace this because it is case sensitive. When I refresh, I will have this back to there and that's to a, because it's only looking for lowercase, and this T is in uppercase. If I want it case insensitive, I'll use the I flag. We can use both G and I to get all occurrence and make it case insensitive so that it can replace all occurrence regardless of the case that is used. And now it replaces. So you can use only I for case insensitive, only G for all occurrence, or both G and I to be both case insensitive and replace all occurrence. And then we have another method that we say is the replace all to use that. But there are several methods that we have that you have to research. I'm only going to touch on the ones we're going to use most frequently, the one you're always going to use and you're always going to need. And these are the ones we use to slice, the one we use for with regular expressions like the replace, the search, the match. And we also have one we call to uppercase and to lowercase, like when you collect user inputs and you want it to be stored all in lowercase or all in uppercase, you can convert any inputs to lowercase by using a method called to lowercase, written like this, to lowercase and a pair of parentheses. So let's say let lowercase be equal to text dot lowercase, and then let uppercase be equal to text dot uppercase. Like that. So we're going to print it out here. So we're going to replace this for paragraph 7, for paragraph 8, and we'll have lowercase, and then we have uppercase. We save this, refresh, we have the one all in lowercase, the other all in uppercase. Okay? Any question? Is it clear for everyone?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. And so we have another last method that we'll look at, and then you can research more to look at several more string methods that we use for different purposes. There are a lot of them. You just need to know what exists. You don't need to have them all in your head. You just need to know that there are methods for getting parts of a text, methods for performing regular expressions, searching a string, concatenating strings, just like we have, let's say, let concat string or concat text be equal to, and for us to do this, let's have another text, say let text2 be equal to, and the dog was sleeping, something like that. So we'll say this will now be equal to text dot. When you use the concat method, we'll write text dot concat. We want to specify what we are putting. So the first one is we want to add a space, comma, we want to concatenate text 2 with this, right? And if it's not a space, you put whatever you want to put as a separator between the text and the text 2. So we're concatenating text dot concat. So it's the same thing as saying text plus space plus text 2. But we have a method for that concat. And so when we come here and I try to print this out to the page, we should see that if all is well, that should print out as a concatenation of both text. So we'll say concat text. So we have both text together as one. So you can use that to concatenate two text. So like I said earlier, strings is very important. In fact, when you understand strings and all the methods that exist and how to manipulate strings, you will likely be able to pass most technical interviews because majority of the questions will be on strings. Then we have some on arrays, and then you might just have a little more on object-oriented programming and data structures and algorithm. But string is the concept of programming strings, the method of strings, slicing strings, manipulating strings, searching strings are things that when you have a depth of understanding, you always remember how to use them and when to use them. You are going to be able to go through most problems or technical problems easier and faster. An example of the kind of things you can do with string manipulation is when you have things like generation of national ID cards and you want to automatically generate them. You don't want to just create numbers, hospital registration numbers. Maybe there's an algorithm that says, take the first letter of the first name, the first letter of the last name, the last 2 digits of the year of birth, or the letter of the gender, F for female, M for male, and things like that. And add all of these different things together to form the unique identifier for the person. So this is where you need to manipulate strings to be able to create that functionality that automatically creates generate IDs for people. So when you see systems like you have your national identity system that automatically generates numbers, these are the kind of algorithm that they use on the back, either in JavaScript or on any scripting language, to generate all of these texts based on the inputs that they've entered, the person's names, credential, or whatever is specified in the algorithm to be sliced, replaced, or concatenated to produce that unique identifier that we always see. So that is the use case for this. Any question?
A question.
Okay. All right, so let's look at how to search strings before we close for the day. When we want to search strings, we just use methods that already exist that we can use to return maybe the index of different occurrence of the string. We can use to search for an occurrence of the string. We can use to perform regular expression matches or a particular string that either starts with something, ends with something, or includes something. And the method names are just similar to the operation we want to perform. Now, let's say we want to get the index of a particular stuff. Let me delete this. So I'll say we want to get let index, or so let's say let index 1 be equal to, we want to get something like text dot index of, and we want to get the index of, let's say, index of the. I'll leave this back in lowercase. And let's say let index2 be equal to text dot last index of the, and then I want to print this index1 and I want to print out index2 like this. When I refresh this, I have the index, that's to give us the start position of the, which is starting at index position 0, and the next one starts at index position 31. So when we use index of, it only tells us the starting position of the first occurrence of whatever we specified here. And when we use last index of, it gives us the starting position of the last occurrence of it. And when it doesn't find it, it returns -1. Let's say we want something like rain. Rain is not included in this text. We should get -1 printed because it does not find it. So whenever you ask for an index of something is not found, it returns -1. So this is another thing you can use to search when you develop your systems. You want to search if something occurs, where it occurs, where it starts from. Or you want to search if something doesn't occur at all, you try to search last index of, or you try to search index of, and then you put in that word. And if the word is not there, it just returns -1 for you to know that the whole sentence or the whole string doesn't contain that search term that you're trying to search. We have something we call the search method. So let's search 1 be equal to text.search like this. We also use this with regular expression, and if we use it with regular expression, we use 2/ and then the term that we want to search here. But let's do this, and then when we get to regular expression, we're going to use this method again to see how we use them with regular expression. So I want to search for the occurrence of, let's say, dog. So I'll do text.search dog, and then when I try to print out, this should be search 1. I should have, if all is well, I will have the index position of dog, or the start position, which is 40, printed out to the page. So we have other methods like the match method, where we also returns an array. So match is also good for us to try using the THE, because we have 2 occurrences. When we use match and we use the like this, it's going to return the first occurrence of this, which is going to be 0, right? But when we use match all, it will return now the array. So when we use match, it returns the found string. And when we use match all like this, it returns, we're trying to say we want an iterator that will return all of the found. So it's going to return the twice because it found it twice. So now we have object iterator because that's what it returns to the page. It returns an iterator for that. So if we want to loop through it to search what it returns, but this returns an iterator that contains the result of all of the matching strings. So we use match all for that. We have further methods that I wanted to research. We have something called include, like this. And when we use include, we get a Boolean, either true or false. And if it returns, if true, so if the string contains this specified value, it will return true. If not, it will return false, like that, because there's there, it will return true. We'll ask it if it contains a word called rain, it will return false because there is no rain in the text. So this is one of the methods that we use to search string. So we have start with to see if it starts with a particular value, ends with the same thing, but the start with and the end with also returns Boolean true or false if it is true or if it is false. So I wanted to research more of this string and string methods and see all the methods that exist, their use cases, how you can use them to and create scenarios where this is useful in terms of software development. These are just basics that you need to know before you start developing your system. So I'm going to take questions now, and we are not going to do too much today, so that we don't have so much to consume. I have not prepared your video. The last video, it exceeded an hour. It is very heavy, so I was going to compress that, which I haven't done, but I'll add that to today's one and upload them in the classroom along with your week 18 content or even before, so that you can have the videos to go through over and again. So any question?
No question for me.
Okay. All right. So we'll meet tomorrow at the regional time, which is supposed to be 12 noon my time. That's 5 p.m. Nigerian time, 4 p.m. Ghana time. And we will use the new link that was sent for the JavaScript classes. So thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.